Well, we had our meetings this morning and reviewed the film with the players and made the corrections that we need to make, and then try to apply them going forward. And we're looking at Utah now and working on that game plan. They are a very good physical football team, both sides of the ball. You know, the guys that stand out to you are really their defense. I mean, they play physical, they play hard. You know, Lotulelei, their nose tackle, is one of the best defensive linemen I think I've seen in a long, long time. I mean, he's just a force. He plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage. He's got great lateral quickness. You know, he's unbelievable off the snap in terms of his explosiveness. And then they've got a defensive end here, Teni Palapoi, is I believe how you pronounce it, and he's the same type of guy. I mean, just explosive. These are guys that'll be, I think, forces at the next level. So we've got our work cut out for us with those guys. And then offensively, it's probably the deepest group of receivers that we've seen. They've just got a bunch of guys that can make plays. They're all efficient doing what they do, and it'll be a tough task. And we saw how they played USC the other night, aggressive, up the field, physical defense. So this will be a good challenge for us, especially up front. You know, with our young offensive line going against these guys, it'll be a real challenge. So we got to have a good week of practice, stay focused, and come out and play as well as we can.
Before we get to that, since I have DirecTV and I couldn't see your game this last Saturday, I started off with your school newspaper here, Sam Strong. Sam here? He wrote a column this morning, apparently. He says, when Mora is pressed for an answer in an interview, he always falls back on the three pillars he hopes to kickstart this program on: discipline, accountability, and toughness. None of them showed up on Saturday. Is that true?
You know, Saturday night we played, when I looked at the film, the thing that I was impressed with was that we played hard. But you should play hard. I mean, that should be a given. The thing that we struggled with on Saturday night is we made mistakes. You know, we had a couple of breakdowns in terms of our assignment. We had a couple more penalties. We've had some penalties. We had penalties that were a little more critical that showed up. And so I would say that it's inaccurate in terms of toughness. We did play with toughness. I would question the discipline just because of the penalties. I think penalties can be an indicator of discipline, but I don't think we're an undisciplined team. I think we just made some mistakes. And our guys are accountable to each other. They're accountable to each other. You know, there was nobody in that locker room afterwards that was taking it lightly. You know, they were affected by the loss. You know, just like they were affected by the loss against Oregon State. It was unique to me because I haven't been in a college locker room after a loss. And so, you know, when you're dealing with a younger athlete, I was interested to see how they reacted. And they were very serious about it. You know, they were affected by it. And then they came back today. Well, I would think, but I didn't necessarily know what to expect because I hadn't dealt with this age group before.
You, so the lay of the land right now so far, how you growl when things don't necessarily go right.
I don't know about that. So.
Since I didn't see the game again, you look at the box score. I was curious, did that field goal, when you went for the field goal to start the fourth quarter, you're down 15, so instead you make it down 12, did that take kind of the air out of your team?
I don't follow you.
Instead of going for it, I think you had 3rd and 6. You were in a game where you couldn't quite catch up with them. You were down by 15 to start the fourth quarter. You go for the field goal instead of trying to go for it at that point.
Oh, yeah, there was 14:31 left in the game, the 3rd and 6. No, we wanted to get within 2 touchdowns, the 12 points. There was a lot of game left to be played. You know, 14:30, I think it was 14:31 left in the fourth quarter. That's a time when you typically would go for a field goal.
So you don't think it had any impact on how the rest of the fourth quarter went for your team?
No.
Okay. How about the end of the fourth quarter? Did your team quit on you?
No, absolutely not. Not a chance.
So what happened at the end of the game, the 2 scores by Cal, that game got away from you?
The score got away from us a little bit, but nobody quit. No, the long run, we busted the the defense. We made a mistake in our call, but nobody quit. No, not even close.
Coach, can you expand on discipline and mistakes? It's kind of sometimes a fine line. You've always preached this discipline, but penalties didn't cost you earlier at times in the year, and it seems like they cost you Saturday.
They did. They did cost us Saturday. They affected us more Saturday. I think there's a distinction between discipline and penalties. You know, I think an undisciplined team is a team that shows up late for meetings or practice or doesn't pay attention or forgets their books or, you know, lets the little things slip. I think penalties, some of the penalties the other day, you could certainly say a lack of focus. You know, when you have a false start or you jump off sides, to me that's a lack of focus. Some of the penalties are a function of playing against a good player who maybe got one on you on a play, and so you react and grab and hold, or maybe not putting yourself in the right position in terms of your body on the field to make a block, and so you reach and you hold. So I don't know necessarily that those are discipline issues as opposed to sometimes ability issues or, you know, not getting in the right technique issues. But there are focus penalties and decision-making penalties that, you know, that we've always got to address.
Did you realize your secondary was as shaky as it is and struggling against really a team that is known for having great quarterback play?
You talking about this past week? Yeah, we didn't play as well as we are capable of playing in the secondary on Saturday. So we're gonna. Well, we just their quarterback got hot. You know, we put pressure on him. He made throws. We got beat to our leverage a couple times by a really good receiver, Keenan Allen, and you know, it's competitive sports, and you guys have all covered competitive sports. You know, the other guys are good players too, and you've got to be on it. You've got to do everything right on every play, or you have the opportunity to get beat, and that happened a couple times the other night.
But isn't it disappointing when you go against a team like that that basically only wins against Southern Utah? I got that right, Chris? And that's as good as they've been so far, and you get waxed like you did?
We knew going in and looking at the film, you know, film sometimes tells a different story than a score. And we knew going in that this was a very talented football team. They have a lot of talented football players. They just hadn't been able to put it together for a game. They'd played some pretty good teams. You know, I think we'd all agree that USC is a good team. And I think we'd all agree that Ohio State's a good team. And I've been able to see Arizona State play 3 or 4 times now on film, and I think they're a talented football team. And, you know, we got in a situation on Saturday night where we were playing a team with a lot of talent that finally put it together. And, you know, we got beat pretty soundly, obviously. But we have talent. Yes, we are a talented team. We're a very young team offensively. And so we're fighting through some growing pains. You know, we have 3 freshmen starting on the offensive line. We have a sophomore starting the offensive line. We have a freshman quarterback. We have a freshman slot. And then because of injury, Jordan Payton went in and played a ton, who's a young guy. And I'm excited about these guys because I think they've got a lot of talent and they've got the right mindset. But there's going to be some bumps along the way, you know, when you're playing this many young guys. I've been through that before when I was coaching at San Francisco. I believe we started a couple games, 7 or 8 rookies on our defense. We took some lumps for a little while, but as they were talented guys. They were really talented guys. A number of them ended up, you know, going to Pro Bowls and things. As they grew together, as they played more, you saw fewer and fewer mistakes. You saw confidence grow, and they became a really good defensive team. And so I think we're going through a little bit of that on offense. And yeah, I don't know that you're going to always have, you know, be starting 6 freshmen. You know, we'd hope that we can get past that point where we're starting 6 freshmen. We'd hope that, you know, next year these 6 freshmen will be sophomores and they'll have game experience.
You started 6 freshmen, show them that they get a chance to play.
Yeah, it's great to be able to do that. You love to be able to show recruits that they have an opportunity to come in and play.
Jim, you mentioned just a minute ago about the mindset as being in the NFL and seeing a young student athlete lose for the first time. 6 games in now as head coach here. Looking within, how are you a different coach? How do you have to be a different coach 6 games in compared to 6 games into the NFL after a loss?
That's a great question, and much more patient, much more observant of all the other things that are going on in their lives that may affect how they played on Saturday, and not letting it become an excuse, but not crushing them for it either. You know, trying to help them grow up, trying to help them, you know, maneuver through some adversity and learn how to be resilient. It's a real challenge, and it's a learning experience. It's something I really enjoy. I'm certainly not, you know, I'm trying to get better at it every day. You know, I'm not an old seasoned vet when it comes to this, but I'm doing my best to help these kids learn how to overcome some of these things that happen. I think there's some great life lessons to be learned here. You know, this is college football still. You know, these are still young, developing kids. So it's a responsibility I take pretty seriously, but by no means am I, you know, good at it yet. I'm just trying.
Jim, you mentioned pressure on Maynard. Did you feel you got adequate pressure on the quarterback to help out the secondary?
Yeah, we had 5 sacks. I mean, we were credited with 3, but we had 5. They'll end up giving Anthony Barr another sack and Stan McCann. We hit him numerous times, but he was 25 of 30. I mean, that kid, you know, I after games, it's typical for me to shake the hand of the head coach and then get to our locker room as fast as I can, because I like to see our players coming off the field, win or lose, and just be standing in there when they come in and just, you know, give them a handshake. After that game on Saturday, after I got a chance to shake Coach Tedford's hand, I made it a point of trying to find Zach Maynard and just tell him, I mean, that was for me, that was an impressive performance, because he got hit. And when you look at the film, when a guy like Oa hits you going full speed and knocks you down, and you know, he's not a big guy, he's a skinny-legged guy, but he just kept getting up and going and going. So I made it a point to go tell him how impressed I was with him. He was a tough sucker.
So, I mean, you felt you had the pressure that for the coverage. You guys feel like the calls were right?
Mm-hmm.
For the coverage?
Well, like I mentioned yesterday when we were on our conference call, I didn't give you a good example. There was a call down in the red zone. And this is where I think I did a poor job. And we called a blitz, okay? And know that every call goes through my headset. And I know every call, offense, defense, special teams. And Lou and I talk constantly through the game, constantly. And I saw where they had recognized the blitz, and you know how everyone looks to the sideline, and they changed the play. And my instinct was to call timeout and get us in a better call. And I didn't do it. And so when I was talking about failing to help the players, that's what I was talking about right there, a play like that. I've had that happen to me once before. It was in a playoff game against Brett Favre in San Francisco. Same thing, called the blitz, had a bad feeling about it, didn't call timeout. They scored a touchdown. We fortunately came back to win. But, you know, those moments haunt you for a long, long time, because part of your job as a coach is to help your players have success on the field by putting them in the right situation. And when you don't do that and they look bad, it's not a good feeling. So got to be better at that. Yeah, that was a long time ago. I must have. Hopefully I've learned from them, but you know how that is. It's a constant battle. At least it is for me.
Overall, though, you felt that the defensive calls...
The calls were great. The calls were good, yeah. And going, here's what happened, Chris, like I said last night, like I was surprised when I turned on the film at how hard we played on defense, because when you look at the score, you go, they must not have played very hard. The guys played hard. We busted about 4 plays that just made it look really bad. Plus, we were overcoming 6 turnovers, you know. And when you get, Bobby and I were talking about this yesterday, when you get a run on you like we did at the end of the game, was it 68 yards, whatever, the touchdown, you know, conventional wisdom is, you know, you ask a question like you asked, did they quit? You know, because that's what it appears to be, you know, to everyone watching it on TV or, you know, sitting in the stands. It's like, oh, God, they gave up a 68-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter. They must have quit. But the reality of it is that we busted the coverage. And so they had to we didn't have anybody in 2 gaps. You know, we rotated the wrong way. So it looks bad, you know, but we didn't quit.
What about the offensive play calling? Jonathan only had 15 carries, but he seemed to be pretty effective. Do you think
He had 100 yards in the first half, I think, right? Rushing. Yeah. He got dinged up. He got quad contusion. He got a calf contusion. So in the second half, he was pretty limited in the number of plays we could get. Plus his hand was bruised. So he was fighting through it, and we were moving him in and out. Jordan James was doing some good things for us. Damian Thigpen, didn't get as involved as he usually does. But a lot of the second half production with Jonathan had to do with his, being banged up, playing from behind, throwing the ball more down the field, things like that. He should be. He might miss practice tomorrow. It's the time of the season when you're a running back that you start to feel the hits,
Fuller going to remain a wide receiver for now?
Say that again.
Fuller going to remain a wide receiver?
He is. Yeah, we're gonna use Devin. You guys saw we used him the other night. We're gonna use him more and more. With Darius' situation being uncertain right now, he'll get some time at that Y position, as we call it. It's essentially a receiver position. Talk to him, talk to his dad about his future. When we get to spring, he'll go back and compete at quarterback. But he's a really good athlete, and he can do some special things with his hands on the ball. And we started to really notice it. See, on scout team, you guys watch it, on scout team, we'll put him at receiver sometimes, or even running back, kind of put him at the position where their most explosive player is, and he showed up in practice. So talk to him, talk to his dad about, taking the red shirt off and getting him plays. And our goal is to get him 20 plays a game. And now with like I said, with Darius and with Devin, then he's going to factor in there more. We're excited to see what he can do. I don't know if we'll list him as a wide. Did we list him as a wideout, Steve? Or we might still list him as a quarterback, but he's been assured that he'll get a chance to go back and compete at quarterback in the spring.
Are you worried that State's got a national championship picture now?
We're just worried about Utah right now, man. This is a huge challenge, Utah. So
You saw him play USC. They didn't look
I did.
Got a couple breaks early.
I thought they looked pretty good defensively. I mean, they get after it, and then when you watch the film, that front is impressive. I got to look down to pronounce his name, Lotulelei. I'd heard about him, but I'd never seen him play. I saw him play, on TV, and then when I turned on the film the other day, you want to turn it off after about 10 plays. I mean, he was a force. So we've got to figure out how to deal with him.
Your touchdown favorite?
I've never been one to pay attention to the line.
What point are you going to have to think about using somebody other than Fairburn for longer field goals?
Yeah, that's a good question. The problem is I don't know if we have anyone to use for longer field goals. And once again, I'm trying to help this kid develop by putting him in positions where he can succeed and not fail. And I want him to make field goals, and I want to feel confident that he can go out and make, what was it, a 46-yarder or a 42-yarder? 43. You asked about the field goal in the fourth quarter. If I would question one of my calls for a field goal, it would be the 43-yarder. Because he hasn't necessarily shown in competition that he's ready to do that. He doesn't in practice all the time. And so right when he missed that, I went, you're a dummy. Just go for it. Get this kid some chip shots as he grows up. He's going to be a great kicker. He really is, because he works at it. He's got the right mindset. Jeff Locke is helping him come along, and I'm just trying not to screw him up. So I think he's going to be a really good one. But to answer your question, Chris, I don't know that we have a better option right now. So we just have to manage things the right way.
You had Jeff Locke who hit 49 and 51 last year against Texas.
Yeah. He just doesn't seem to be as comfortable doing that. Maybe I'll talk to him about it, though.
Is any of the offensive line players talk to you about stemming? The Utah players have to do this thing where they
Stem? Yeah, where they shift right before the snap. Yeah.
They got a call for 5 or 6 false starts last year against you.
Who did? UCLA did? Yeah, I mean, we'll practice in our scout team stuff. We'll have our scout team guys do that. Probably have them jump across the line a little bit. Try to put pressure on them. I mean, that's what you try to do during the week is you try to put pressure on them so that they're prepared for it at game time. Yeah. What they'll do is they'll line up in either an over and under front, and then right before the snap, they'll either shift back to their 3-4 alignment or shift from an over to an under, or from an over and an under back to a 3-4. Just move around. And they're not trying to draw you off sides. I mean, they're not breaking the rules. What they're trying to do is confuse your blocking patterns, and make you make calls on the move. And they're good at it, They're veterans, and they time it up well. We have to do a good job of utilizing the cadence. And I think Brett will do a good job of that. We've got to vary when we snap the ball. I think if we can vary when we snap the ball, that'll help us. And then we've got to have the poise to not jump, to hang in there,
Is Utah better at it than other teams?
I think that they just do it more. It's not something that you necessarily see a lot of in college football. You see more teams just kind of line up and go. Now, they might stunt once the ball's snapped, runs. We were struggling the other night with some what we call TE games, or tackle up, end under. But in terms of the pre-snap movement, you don't see a ton of that. But Utah, they're a veteran group.
Noel said after the game that he was looking for the right 5 guys on the offensive line. Even with Torian healthy, are you still kind of looking to put guys there? Or?
I think it's important that you always are looking to upgrade your team and create competition, and push guys to be the best they can be. And so, if we can find a better combination, then we'll find it. I think that this is a pretty good combination. Very young, a lot of room for growth. Struggle sometimes, but a group that I'm excited about watching develop. But we're going to try to win the game we're playing. We're not going to sacrifice a game for experience, and I don't think we have. We're playing the young guys because they're our best options right now. I don't think it would be fair to a guy like Jeff Baca to say, well, we're going to develop these young guys at the expense of his senior season. We're not doing that. These are our best options right now, and we like them a lot, and they're going to be really good players. They're just young, and with youth sometimes comes mistakes, and if they come at the wrong time, they kill you. But we can't use it as an excuse either. They got to grow up, and we got to help them. We good? Okay. Thank you.